I don't know about your area, but here locally, if I want to take a pistol in to a gunsmith and have the sights either adjusted or changed out, it's going to cost me anywhere between $50 and $75. The next option is I can take my slide and I can clamp it down in a vise. Then I can take a hammer and some sort of drift tool and go to work on it. I have plastic punches, I have steel punches, I have brass punches, I even have aluminum punches. No matter what I use or how I do it, if I use punches, my sights are always going to have marks on them. Not only that, but getting that precise, centered location for your sights is nearly impossible when you're using a hammer and punch. If you own firearms, one of the best tools that you can own is a sight pusher. They are the best option when it comes to not just changing sights, but also making those precision adjustments either at home or at the range. Today we're going to look over the sight pusher by Accucraft, and let me tell you, this thing, it's a beast. Full disclosure, Accucraft did send this sight pusher to me to do a review, but if you're familiar with the channel, you already know that doesn't mean I'm going to sugarcoat anything. For instance, and the camera's probably not going to pick it up very well, but this color, it's pretty gross. I don't know what anybody was thinking when they came up with this, but it's seriously off-putting. Reminds me of way too many diaper changes from when my kids were young. You know what though? I can look past that color because the tool itself, it is very solid and well made. Not just that, but it's well thought out. And sure, there are a couple of things that I would have done differently if I had designed it. All in all, I really like it. So let's go ahead and let's take the slide from this 1911 and let's dive up close and take a good look at the sight pusher tool. All right, for our example today, we're going to go ahead and use this 1911 slide. I went ahead and pre-fit this fiber optic front sight. It came with a blacked out front sight, not a huge fan. So I've got this started just to make this video footage a little bit easier. Now, if you look down in the bottom of this sight pusher tool, you'll see these lines that go front to back. Those lines are there to help you line up your slide to make sure that it is straight. Otherwise, if it is at a bit of an angle, what's going to happen is it's going to bind up when you start applying pressure to move that sight. Once you have everything lined up so that your actual sight pusher is lined up with your sight, then you can go ahead and lock these side adjustments down so it's holding the slide nice and tight. If you find that this piece needs to go up or down, this adjustment for that is right there. You can go ahead and lock everything into place. Once you're in place, you're ready to go ahead and turn this dial to make whatever adjustments that you need to make. You can go ahead and turn it this way, and as soon as it makes contact, gently give it a turn, and you can move that sight from one side to the other. Okay, so let's talk negatives. They say that this is designed so that this portion here can be clamped down into a vise. The unfortunate thing is that it doesn't come down far enough. It's not deep enough, I guess, to get a good bite on it with a vise for stability. The good news there is that I found while testing it out that just leaving it on my table and kind of holding the top and turning, that's plenty stable enough for most jobs. So that's not a huge deal. I just had to push it out because if you're expecting to lock the sight pusher down into your vise, it's not gonna get a real good grip on it. Another thing that I don't like is this turn handle. I don't like this particular style. I feel like you're losing a lot of leverage with that. I have this Vism sight pusher. I've been using this one for years. I prefer this style of turn handle. You get a lot more leverage out of it than you do, a standard round grip. Another thing that I'm not real fond of is the way that they designed this adjustment to raise the top half of this up and down. One thing that they could have really done without on this design is this nut right here. When you get this out of the package, this adjustment that makes this go up or down on your slide, this nut is mounted right underneath of this pad, up in this little crack right here. The problem with that is that with this nut in here, you actually can't reach your front sights. It doesn't go down far enough So they do give you an Allen wrench. You go ahead and take the set screw out of here, take this head off, remove this nut, put this head back on, tighten that Allen screw back up, and you can finally reach your front sights to make front sight adjustments, not just rear sight adjustments. A sight adjustment tool that cannot adjust front sights has no use. Just like this nut, it's worthless. If you buy this thing, take it apart, take this thing off, and throw it away. I'm not going to hold any of that against them though. Yes, improvements could be made. That doesn't mean it's all bad though. This side adjustment tool, it is solid. It's extremely well made and thought out. It's sturdy, it's high quality. Not just in the materials, but in all of the little details as well. Things like the lines that are machined down into the base so you can make sure that you have your slide lined up nice and straight. They didn't have to machine those in there. They did. They went that extra mile, and it's actually quite helpful. One of the things that I like about this Accucraft sight pusher is that there's no flex when you start putting pressure on your sights. This one here is from Vism. I've had this for several years, and it's actually pretty good quality. The problem is that it's not real secure in that as soon as you start putting pressure on those sights to start moving them side to side, the bar itself starts to flex, and you lose a lot of your mechanical advantage on those sights. If you have a more stubborn set of sights that really don't want to move, that sight pusher feels like it's going to explode at any time. I would almost rather use a hammer and a punch than use that thing when it comes to more sticky sights. I like that this Accucraft sight pusher holds your slide tight and secure. It can accommodate damn near any slide that's on the market, within reason. Because of the slide shape on this 9mm Baby Eagle, it generally doesn't work out very well with sight pushers because their contact points are usually really high, and with the tri-topped slide, there's nothing to grab onto. With the design on this Accucraft though, the contact points are low enough that I can go ahead and mount the Baby Eagle into it and make side adjustments if need be, which actually I did need to do. But up until now, my only option with that gun was a hammer and punch. With a hammer and punch, you're either going to damage your sights or you're going to bounce that sight back and forth, left and right, until you get frustrated and say, screw it, a little left is fine. I will say I do wish that this sight pusher came with some sort of padded case. For the price, it should come with a case, something soft with a foam insert that's cut out specifically for it. One of the big advantages to one of these sight tools is that you can make adjustments to your sights on the go. So instead of having to make your adjustments at home with a hammer and punch and then go to the range and see if they're close, you can just bring this with you and make your adjustments at the range. For what it costs, yeah, I think that it should come with some sort of travel case. And cost is the last thing that I think I need to bring up on my list here before we wrap up this video. These sight pushers, they're not cheap. They do go for $100. You can use the discount that I have down in the description to get 20% off of that bad boy. There's a link to the sight pusher itself as well. Even with that 20% off, at first glance, it seems incredibly expensive. The reality is though, I buy this kind of stuff all the time for videos. Firearms and accessories and tools and all these kind of things. I buy them constantly to do reviews as well as modifications on my own firearms and friends' firearms. I've changed out a lot of sights. I've made adjustments on a lot of sights. I've used enough tools and techniques to tell you that, yeah, this sight pusher is a little pricey, but realistically, yes, it's worth it. It is worth it to spend that money now, today, on this one unit versus trying out a handful of different styles of punches, going through all the time and frustration of figuring out that they all suck, and then having to turn around and still buy a high quality sight pusher in the end. You can buy this sight pusher from Accucraft and you can be confident that it's going to be the last sight tool you're ever going to need to buy. Not only that, but if you use the link down there and the discount code, you can save yourself 20%. That's going to be it for today, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you back here real soon with more content.